And welcome to a victorious, wonderful Sunday night edition of Keeping It Orange and Blue. I'm Ryan Evan. Kevin Ducey, how was your Saturday?
Woo! Oh my goodness, man. I don't think there's words that can put it, unless you're one of us, you just don't get it. And I know the folks that listen to the show are one of us, and the Illini Nation, and that, it's a minute and 20 seconds left. We're down by 5 in a game that we've controlled, a game we should have won. Kudos to Minnesota, that linebacker for making the forced fumble on Williams.
Yeah,
Altmaier makes his first bad throw of the day. I mean, it's just adding up. Like when they make a bad throw, we can't get a pick. We drop picks. We're last in the Big Ten in interceptions after leading the nation a year ago. And it's just like, what are we going to do? And Altmaier makes a great play. We hit Pat Bryant, first down. And we get called back for one of the weakest freaking holding calls I've ever seen in my life. First holding call all day. I mean, it just was, everything was stacked against us. And you bring in legacy John Paddock, who I remember idolizing his uncle when I was a kid, because he's playing on 90, 91, and I'm 12, 13 years old at that time. And he was also a St. Joe kid. So it was really cool for me, being a local. And for him to come in and do what he did, and the magnitude of what he did is so incredible here, because, people with more sense than me walked into the season with the plans or the hopes or the goals of just make a bowl game. My idiot, dumbass said 10 wins, which I'm looking back on now and realizing how really stupid that was. When you've got NFL guys, we got NFL guys making interceptions today that were on our defense. We got NFL guys making touchdown passes who are going to start at quarterback next week.
Yeah, we had guys that are going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year in the NFL. On that defense,
possibly him or Jalen Carter, right? There's just so much that was like, we lost too much. It was moronic of me to just think we were just going to pick up the paces and just be okay. But really, a lot of people just get back-to-back bowls.
True.
And the difficulty of missing a bowl game. And thinking about the sour taste that Wisconsin and Minnesota would have left in our mouths after back-to-back weeks, it's monumental, man. It was literally, I don't say this lightly, those 3 passes by John Paddock, that drive by John Paddock could be program changing.
I know this, though. He will always live in Illini football lore.
100%.
No, people will be talking about the John Paddock game in 30 years, Like that, Robert Rosenthal will still be talking about it probably, and I know this. We'll talk about where were you at, right? And you know what? So I'm going to run it down for you guys, and I'd love to hear from you guys, where were you at? So I was telling him before we came on air, I was coming back from a work conference, and it was and let me just go ahead and say this, as I mentioned in my tweet, what a birthday gift, I can tell you. I could not have asked for a better one. It was one of the only ones I got, but I can tell you, I've prayed in my life numerous times for Illinois to win games, and God never answers it, because that's not a prayer He's going to answer,
right?
And so that one, I just was in my head, all I really want for my birthday is just for Illinois to win this game, That's it. That's all I want.
All I want for my birthday is
yes. But all I wanted was a John Paddock late second drive. So he gave it to me. But I was in the car, I wasn't driving. I'm I'm watching it on my phone. And I'm seeing all these things add up. I was so frustrated, and so irritated. And I was just like, we're going to blow another 4-quarter lead. I was saying these things out loud. We're blowing another 4-quarter lead.
Yeah.
And people in the car are on edge, And I'm just like, we're going to have to win the final 3 games of the year to get to a bowl game.
Yep.
I said, I am so sick of it. I was like, man, this team shouldn't be 5-3 to begin with right now, as it is. 5-3 to begin with. Think about that. The team should be, and right now easily 6-3. We can say that, Kev. I think this team could easily be 6-3, but it's not. And you know what? As much as I want to dwell on that, getting to a bowl game now is huge for many reasons. But I finish off. I'm like, it's 4th and 11. Paddock hasn't thrown a ball in 5 weeks. I'm like, there's just no way. The percentage of that drive with no timeouts, Kevin, I know somewhere somebody will have it. It has to be under 9%, probably.
Oh, it's under 1%.
Okay, yeah, 0.9%.
Astronomically low.
Yeah. So the chances of that happening, and especially with our Illini football program, come on, who thought that was going to happen?
Nobody. I mean, I was like, we're toast. And I'm the guy that always has hope. I'm the guy. Actually, I will say this. About 2 minutes before that drive actually started, I did send my buddies a text that said 27-26. But when it was 4th and 11, there's no way in heck I would have said that. No way in hell I'm picking that when you got a backup quarterback coming into the game for, like you said, his first action in over a month. And furthermore, like I thought Paddock could show some things in the games that he did play, specifically the Penn State game. But if we go back to the Penn State and the Purdue game, go look at his first couple passes. His first pass against Penn State, were so bad. And same with Purdue. And so I'm like, it just takes the guy a little bit of time to warm up. Well, I'm sorry, it's 4th and 11. There ain't no time to warm up, dude. And that rope he threw to Isaiah Williams was such a good throw for the first down. Not the touchdown was absolutely perfect too. We all know that, but it was it's mind-boggling. I just don't – I can't fathom it. And now we're in this big situation where,
Tell me what – we're in a situation now, Kev, where Illinois – I don't know why Illinois couldn't win the final 3 games.
Because the last time we won a game similar to something like this was maybe when we upset Penn State and then we shit the bed against Rutgers.
Yeah, true. And I will tell you, I'm not sleeping on Indiana. I know that they've played a lot better ball of late. I know this, but one thing I do know they struggle to do is stop the run.
Mm-hmm. And
Rutgers just pounded them all day, and that's how they got to them. They just pounded them, and eventually by the end of that third quarter, they're done. And I watched most of that game, and it was close at half, but they just kept running the ball, and eventually they just couldn't stop it. So
the challenges for us is do we have running backs that can carry the ball 40 times?
I think we got to get Love back.
Yeah, that'd be huge. And if not, listen, I'm not saying he's a Big Ten high-level quality player, but I watched Nick Fidanzo's stuff in high school. I watched him in some spring games. He's not terrible, man. Like, the guy could tote the rock a little bit.
He's got nice size, too.
Yeah, he does.
But I will say this. I have all the confidence in the world if Luke can come back. So I want to mention this, too, as we finish up talking about how great that is and we transition a little bit to Indiana. But so we know Luke Altmaier, got concussion protocol. So he's going to be in concussion protocol. So John Paddock could start next week. But if Luke can go, he's going to start because Luke had a heck of a game, Like when you're throwing for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and yes, one of his last throws was a bad one.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is, that very play, that was actually the same coverage and ball that they scored the touchdown on. John Paddock just threw it 20 yards deeper.
Yeah, and I think that Newbin made too big of a play on it early. I think he was not expecting it to go over the top there.
Yeah, so. Newbin was ball watching because he knew that he had got a pick earlier. I think they thought they were going to throw it a little bit shorter because in the post-game presser, PJ Fleck made mention that there was guys that were just caught cheating, and sometimes you get burnt.
Yeah.
And he was talking about Newbin because most of the time when you're playing in 2 deep coverage, it's really hard to get beat over the top 30 yards downfield. Usually you need to be, it's like 50, 60 because, they were at the 45-yard line and he caught it at like the 6. So, anyway, it was a hell of a ball. John Paddock looked like Brett Favre out there. Yeah. I said that in our group chat, and I mean that just because he's a shorter guy, but he had like a cannon, dude. It was just like lasers coming out of his, he just had lasers flying through the air.
Number 4.
Exactly. Number 4, guys. That's why I said Brett Favre because, I know some people like to hate on him, but Favre, man, could sling it Anyway, so Sean, Tommy DeVito had a rough game today against the Giants. He did throw a touchdown. I mean, against the Raiders.
I watched it. I watched every. We got home tonight and there was a lull, and I watched every snap he took. He looked like he looked pretty dang good to me. He's 15 and 20. He's 15 and 20. Like,
what was it? What were the two picks though? I didn't see them.
There was one that was a tip pick, and the other one he made a bad throw. But one was a tip pick that Nate Hobbs picked off.
Wow. Yeah, you know what's crazy?
Nate Hobbs with his first career interception along with Jartavius Martin.
It's so crazy for us to talk about. But let's be honest, real quick because we're in a good mood tonight. That red box bowl lineup Illinois had is nuts. Like Nate Hobbs, Kirby Joseph, Quan Martin, Sidney Brown, Devin Weatherspoon.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's the who's who on defense. Anyway, Jason Rod says the O-line may block better for Paddock as he's more similar to DeVito and doesn't move the pocket.
I think the one thing that Paddock does, and this is my frustration with Luke, and I don't know if this is a cause or effect situation, but Luke has been hit a lot this year, and there's been some bad O-line play at times.
Yeah,
but a lot of times he does this thing, and watch, he drops his head, and when you drop your head, like there's nothing good can happen unless you just take off, and I think he's ran himself into some sacks there. I think you saw it with Paddock. Paddock got some pressure. Paddock actually shifted the pocket a little bit. Like he's not really like trying to sprint out, but he moved. He moved in the pocket on all three throws, I think. He shifted to the left for the first throw to Isaiah. He shifted to the right for the throw to Pat Bryant. And then he shifted to the left again for the touchdown pass and took a hit and delivered the ball. So being a little bit more experienced guy, maybe he's got that. Maybe he also has a little bit less fear. There's nothing for him to lose at this point in time. Just let it loose. I frankly watched the play, watched the hit on Altmaier. I've heard wrist. I saw a head bounce off the turf. And I think it's concussion. If it's either or, I really don't think that Luke Altmaier is going to play on Saturday. I just don't. And I don't know. It'd
be nice for Paddock to let's see if he can keep that rolling, right? Mm-hmm. Also, I've heard that big shot Isaiah Williams took earlier in the game.
Oh man, I thought it was the last snap he took his career, man. I thought his career was over.
He is getting his ribs evaluated because you can guess he's sore as hell. So sore as hell, and I'm sure. I don't want to say I think he'll be out against Indiana. If he plays, he's going to have him wrapped real good. So I know Jason.
Let's hold that for a little bit. I see Jason's comment.
I'm not saying what he said. I know he thinks that Indiana's a bad matchup, but I personally, the reason why I think they beat Wisconsin is because Braylon Allen didn't play. So
you got no Braylon Allen. You didn't have the other guy.
They had their third string. They had their third string running back. That's not Caden Fagan, by the way.
Right.
He's just a guy that nobody would have had trouble with.
It's
I
want to give a couple shout outs here for some guys that I thought made some really key plays here that need to get recognized. I thought Clayton Bush made about 2 or 3 plays in that game. Made a great play on the 2-point conversion. Illinois was really disciplined, really sound there. And that was huge.
How about that stop in the backfield on third?
Dude, great read by him. Phenomenal. He Bush was making some plays, and we haven't seen him much lately. Heck, Tariq Barnes was in there making some plays. Hadn't seen him much lately. The other one, Kalina Odaluga. I don't know if it was a sack, if it was ruled a sack or not. I need to go back and look at the stats. But that play,
he pulled.
Dude, how strong do you have to? I mean,
with one arm
to pull that. And I know people are like, well, it's just a quarterback, and I'm like, dude, like. We had our guy Riley O'Toole on the show. And most people meet me, you see me, you're like, that's a big dude. Riley's bigger than me. He's like, you don't understand. These Division I quarterback dudes they're big. They're big freaking dudes.
I think Callie McManus is like 6'5", 220 pounds. So,
and I guarantee he's squatting 450 pounds or something like that. These guys are not you just don't understand. These D1 athletes are ridiculously strong. So for Kalina Odaluga to reach out with one arm and jerk that dude down to the point that I thought he gave him a concussion. The way his head,
his head hit it, yeah.
And then Xavier Scott's play on Callie McManus.
That was a first down.
Yeah, all day. I was like, oh crap. And
that's the game.
Yep, that's the game. So I want to give a big shout out to those guys. Obviously, Caden Fagan played his tail off. He was 24/7 Sports True Freshman of the Week. He just does the little things. I think the interior of the offensive line is playing better. I think we still have some issues occasionally from Adams or from Pearl. But Pearl did a heck of a job picking up the fumble and saving the day for us.
Yep.
I think Pat Bryant had a really kind of weird game. Pat Bryant was making plays, but then dropped so many good balls, like touchdowns and the 2-point conversion. And
I will say this, even though the defender made a good play, dude, when you have it in your hands like this,
you got to secure it.
You got to secure it. You got to bring it in. No excuse, man.
Yeah, and he'll tell you the same thing. He knows he needs to catch those balls. So
he did.
I like to see Pat.
Thankfully, though, Kev, he had a big catch on the last drive. So,
and we saw. I love it when he gets the opportunity to run after the catch because he does have a little wiggle in him. So,
yeah,
man. And we've been begging for my guy Casey Washington to get a touchdown. He had it. And Lukey missed him.
I know. You know, we got to get that campaign going. 6 for 14, right?
Yeah, 6. Maybe he'll get one at the Northwestern game, and I'll streak the field and get tackled by security.
If Illinois is at 5 wins, and I think they will be by that time, that game's going to be for a bowl game. Yeah, we're going to be celebrating with them seniors. And we got to get 6 in the end zone. 14 in the end zone.
Yep,
we'll like, what do we got to do? Hey, Lonnie, let's go. Like, I'm going to say, let's do a reverse to him or a running back pass or something. I don't care.
He does have a catch that is worth more than just about any other touchdown. And he did catch the 2-point conversion against Penn State to win the game.
That is true. And you can't tell me that didn't feel like a touchdown.
Oh, it absolutely is a touchdown. I mean, yeah, absolutely. But I want him to get a touchdown. Man, the guy's done enough for the program. He needs a good touchdown. So,
what Jason says that concerning Altmaier, Bielema has said post game that McDonald is the one who noticed he wasn't acting right and had him pulled off the field for evaluation. You know,
we might have got lucky that it was a fumble there, and they reviewed that, didn't they? They needed to go look at it and to review whether it was a fumble or an incomplete pass, and I think that might have saved our bacon.
Yeah, I know this. I was in the car. I was irritated too because my reception was kind of shatty, and it kept going in and out, and like pausing on me. Like, here's an example: 4th and 11, Paddock's behind center, takes the snap. Oh, what a big play to Isaiah Williams at the 40. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, whoo. I was like, man, I thought the game was over, you know. But anyway, so just an unforgettable game. And let's just see this too. This is a big thing we got to mention. Illinois, pretty good road team this year, not good home team. We got to get that fixed. And while I know Indiana is a team that plays hard, they still have limitations. And I think that running the ball is a weakness of theirs. And honestly, too, if you don't just have complete lulls in the defense, I can tell you this. They had a receiver made one hell of a catch that probably most guys in the country don't make that catch. That was the touchdown right before.
Oh, Collie. Right?
Yeah, he made it with like 2 fingers, you know.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's just not a ball I don't plan on that happening. Yeah.
Donovan McCulley.
And Sorsby, he likes to run out of the pocket. He's athletic, but I mean, I don't think he's super dynamically accurate. He's good, but I don't think he's tons better than Callie McManus, who, you know, 50%, you know, but he's athletic. He's going to run it around a little bit. They have a Lucas kid that's real shifty, nifty. But again, they're 3-6. They're 3-6 for a reason, and they've had some games where they didn't even show up. You know, Maryland kicked their buns in College Park. You know, Rutgers pounded them in Bloomington just a few weeks ago, just by literally running the ball the whole game. I think this is a very winnable game. I don't know what the line will be, but I don't see why we won't be up between 3 to 5 point. I think 3, maybe 3 to 4 at home, and we got Juju. Maybe they got some Juju too. They feel good. You know, they know they got to win their final 3 games. But I don't see why Illinois won't come stoked, knowing that they still have tons to play for. And even though it's, you know, in the distance here, Illinois line opened at 7 for Illinois. Okay, so there we go.
I was just guys looking it up right now. So
yeah, Bryce Barnes played damn well. He had to play a lot in that first half, and I think he was a big reason that Illinois was there in the game, and it wasn't much more than that. Because he had to take Johnny Newton's spot and play a whole bunch more.
Yeah, Gibson City kid, love to see it, man.
I think we all would like to see a little bit more out of Keith Randolph. He had one or two good plays, but
he had 6 tackles, like 1.5 TFLs. I think Keith played fine.
I just feel like it's just so the when you see Johnny Newton make an instant impact within 3 plays, you think Randolph's his law firm, buddy. You expect something more than that to stick out at you, and then you see those lines though in the second half, Kevin, where it's just Johnny Newton, one man, just makes so much difference between yardage and first downs and points.
I'm gonna be dude. Johnny Newton has Aaron Donald like tendencies. Like he's just a different animal. I think Keith Randolph is a pro. I think Keith Randolph's gonna have a good pro career. Probably somewhere on the line of like a Ward. What's his name? Played with Riley.
Jihad Ward.
Jihad Ward. Yeah, I think he'll probably have some kind of career like that in the NFL. Where sticks around, plays for some teams, starts, plays a fair amount. But I think Johnny Newton might be an all pro. Like I mean, there's just a difference, dude. There's a big difference.
He's a top 10, 15 draft pick. I think Johnny Newton is. And
so I went to Scores and Odds, and I know Jason Ron. Thanks for contributing as always, my brother. Appreciate you. He says he's got it at 7. I see CBS Sports has got it at 6. Scores and Odds has it off the board. My question is, like, are they really going to put a line out there if we don't know who Illinois' starting quarterback is? Now, here, I know that Jason said that he thinks that Indiana is a bad matchup, but I want to talk about some things where I was doing some preseason predictions. And this is a lot different than preseason predictions because we're 9 games deep in the season. I said in the beginning of the season I thought we would go to Kansas and I thought we'd win that game. And the reason why I said I thought we'd win that game is because they're a bad recipe for how you beat Illinois, is that they can't stop the run and they don't run the ball very well. And I still stand by that. To beat a Brett Bielema coach football team, to beat this football team, you need to be able to run the ball effectively on Illinois, and you need to be able to stop the run. Well, we're 9 games deep, and we got some real stats, and we got some real numbers here. And if we look at rushing offense and rushing defense in the Big Ten, the worst rushing offense in the Big Ten, third from last is Indiana, 105 yards per game. The worst rush defense in the Big Ten is Indiana. Indiana is the 12th best rushing offense and the 14th best rushing defense in this conference. They cannot stop the run, and they cannot run the ball effectively. I don't see that's a strategy. That is not the strategy to beat Illinois. Because if Illinois can go out there and pick up 4 or 5 yards of pop on the ground, we're going to do it. Like we're going to we will. I mean, even though like Lonnie likes to do his stuff here, and granted, if one isn't healthy, man, that hurts. That's a blow. I really hope 23 is healthy here because if he could come, I think Reggie Love could step up and have a 100-yard day if he's healthy. I really do. I think that he can give a little bit of wiggle in the hole there. And I know 44, the defensive end or outside linebacker for Indiana, had a great game. Casey, I believe is his last name. Aaron Casey, good ball player. I'm not buying what Indiana does on offense either. They cannot run the ball. Like they have no idea who's going to run the ball. I think their leading rusher last week had 7 carries or something like that.
And 7 of their points came on like a miraculous like OBJ play.
It was. And still, I mean, I think the biggest problem was Wisconsin's offense couldn't find an identity without their studs.
They literally had a guy that nobody knows running the ball for them. And like it wasn't like, it's a near 5-star kid like Fagan who everybody wanted. It was just their third string back who they didn't expect to play much.
And frankly, honestly, I think there's a little bit of this, and I'm not like, I think this is really sad to say this after Luke Altmaier played a pretty damn good game. Like 24 of 31, 200 some yards and 3 touchdowns. We had one bad throw, actually, the ball he missed to Casey Washington, but I'm not gonna really call that a bad throw. It's just a missed throw.
And the overthrow of Isaiah Williams running.
Yeah.
He had about 3 or 4 bad throws, but when you have 3 touchdowns, it's kind of hard to complain,
So I'll say this is that I think that having Paddock in, I think if Paddock plays, I think it gives the team a little bit of an edge. I think there's something. I watched him in that post-game interview. There's something about him that's just be like, We ain't losing this freaking game, boys. And I don't know if that creates a quarterback controversy. If it does happen, and I'm not saying I've got more confidence with Paddock. I'm just saying it's something to keep an eye on.
And you know what, though, Kev? I'd be okay with that only to a degree. This is a 6-year guy. This is it for him.
Yeah.
Like, Altmaier doesn't need to worry, like, what if I can't play against Indiana and Paddock's killing it and they let him finish out the year? Honestly, it's his final go and he gets Illinois to a bowl game. I mean, it is what it is, Like, I think it's like Riley O'Toole time, remember?
Yep. Oh, yeah, dude. Absolutely.
What Riley O'Toole did for that 2014 team. I mean, you just roll with it. You just kind of go.
And here's some things to think about. Minnesota had, 62 yards in the second half?
Yeah.
They rushed for 93 yards on 35 carries. They had 2.7 average. And it wasn't and now our yards per carry look terrible because it counts the team stats it counts rushing stats on sacks. And Luke got sacked 6 or 7 times or whatever. Well, how many sacks do we have? 2? 3 maybe?
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not they couldn't run the ball on us. And Indiana's a worse rushing offense than Minnesota.
We know that Indiana's going to be throwing the ball nonstop, and I get that hurt us last year, sadly, against Indiana. Here's one thing I want to make mention, too, and I don't want anybody to take this lightly, and I want them to think about this. If anybody thinks for 1 second Bielema and the boys on this team forgot that Indiana game last year.
Oh, goodness gracious. Hell no.
No.
Yeah, no.
Okay, they've had a lot of games this year where the crossovers were completely different. This is not one. Tom Allen, still there. A lot of those defenders, still there. Offensive linemen, still there. So 1 or 2 of those receivers, still there.
Yeah.
Sure, Rod Carey's calling the offense now, and it's not Walt Bell. But
it's changed. They've been a little bit better.
Jalen Lucas, their little scat back that's, I'm trying to think of how the best way to – he went to Sproles, Darren Sproles Yeah, he's real Darren Sprolesy. But this team knows that what that game hurt them and cost them last year. And they know they won that game. And they know it got taken from them. And I know they gave up a bunch of yards on that last drive and, woulda, shoulda, couldas. But everybody knows Illinois won that game. Illinois was the better team. It just showed up on the loss column. They've wanted revenge for a while, and Illinois gets a chance to, I think, put a fork in Tom Allen's career there at Indiana, because if they don't make a bowl game, he's done. He's had plenty of years there, and they made so many changes with coaches and things. But yeah, that fan base, why they like Tom Allen, you just can't keep losing year after year and not making bowls. So, Brett Bielema knows where this can put Illinois back to where it's like, if Illinois wins their final 2 games, Illinois is going to take one from Iowa and take one from Northwestern. Those standings become very interesting after Northwestern.
Yeah, I was looking at today the chances to get to the West. A lot of wild stuff's got to happen. I don't foresee it happening. Any chance for us to get to
wild? I think one of them is definitely Minnesota's going to lose to Ohio State. We know that.
Yep.
But I think Nebraska and Iowa play at the end of the year. I think that game's going to really matter. I think, Nebraska beating Iowa is going to probably be one we were wanting. But I'm just saying is that it just still puts you where you're 5-5, you're 3-4 in the Big Ten, and you still have a bunch to play for with 2 weeks left. Brett Bielema's team knows what was left on that field last year, and I know they're going to be ready to get this one back.
I agree with you, and he did a really nice job in revenge games last year. Fell a little short this year with the Purdue game, but we got one in the Maryland game. That was nice. So,
yeah. So real quick as we transition to Jason and your master says, had one not fumbled, we were going to run the clock out. I mean, and that's another thing too. You mentioned that earlier. Illinois was winning that fourth quarter, and they were also looking to run clock and, milk it and probably punt even if they get to midfield with the clock really low, and making Callie McManus do something he hadn't done the whole half, which was get more than 2 first downs in a drive. That fumble really hurt because it set them up in really good field position. So Jason says,
no, don't put this one. I'm sorry. I love you, Jason, but What do you mean turning your heads? You mean when Taz got beat on a perfectly thrown ball and single man coverage with no safety help? It was a perfectly thrown ball. It wasn't Taz's fault. It wasn't Taz's fault. You want to talk about the miscommunication between McCantos and Toby? Yeah, that's fine. They blew a coverage there. Shit happens. Like I'm sorry. I think our secondary is actually playing better. Like I'm not gonna.
Yeah, and I will tell you this: the ones that are making the biggest mistakes. I know Taz isn't perfect; he's made a whole lot better plays. Strain's being better, but Toby got burnt in the first quarter on one he didn't look or turn around on. You know,
yeah, and he's a true freshman, and so yeah, that's youth. I'm sorry, that's youth.
Yep,
and that's the same thing with him and McCantos. There's an exchange there as they're moving, and they miss. There's a miscommunication. They bump into each other, and it leaves Span wide open.
Yep.
It's going to happen.
I can tell you, though.
Sidney Brown did that shit. Sidney Brown was garbage early in his career. I was like, this dude sucks. And then he made the great play against Michigan State, and now he's an NFL player.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And it gets me irritated at times, too. And I want to yell at Toby and them and be like, what are we doing? But I get your first year. McCantos hasn't played that much either.
It's not necessarily it's their first year. It's their first year with a guy with a bunch of other first-year guys. It's not like – last year when we had Taz out there, he's surrounded by 4 guys who've got a plethora of experience around him. It's a guy who's out there. They're out there with no other. There's no veteran leaders. The only veteran really out there is Taz, and Taz isn't nearly as experienced as the guys he was playing with last year. So that's the challenge, and that's what we're dealing with.
And
it is getting better.
And Miles Scott, a first-year starter. Yep. You know, and Harper has been a nice commodity back there for sure.
Nicario Harper, Clayton Bush, Nicario Harper played a real good game too. I mean, he's a little bit of an unsung hero. Scott got sucked in on a play action. Oh my goodness, and they hit him right over the top. I was like, man, it was a third down play. It was critical. If he got a little depth there, there's no way they complete that pass. But we got a couple basketball games and a prediction to get to, don't we?
Yes, we do. Hey, I knew the 10 o'clock. The witching hour is upon us. That's when wins turn to losses. Okay, here we go.
It's when Kevin goes to sleep.
It's when Kevin goes to bed, puts the kids to night. Here we go. So, obviously, as we know, you guys, tomorrow, the start of the Illinois basketball season. Eastern Illinois comes to Champaign. If you don't have BTN Plus, I would love to promote them for them and say get it, but it is what it is. I mean, I have it just because I want to watch it. And you're going to get probably some Illini student with the whole – what was that noise? What did he say?
Oh, gosh. That's
like
swang.
Schwap. There we go.
Schwap.
Yeah, schwap. So I'm just excited because hoop season is officially here tomorrow. I'm actually off tomorrow, so I took tomorrow off birthday. Took a day off PTO. I'm gonna enjoy some hoops. I know it's not a 24-hour marathon, but there's gonna be some games on the telly or the online, and we're gonna watch that. So Illinois takes on Eastern tomorrow. Marty Simmons, of course. Really good friends with Brad Underwood. They came to Champaign last year to start the year off. And, Jeff Alexander actually sent Hamlin to Eastern. So not expecting anything like a close game, but it's awesome to get to be here. And I'm just excited, Kev. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things we're going to look at this week. BTN Plus, Sean Garner. Tomorrow night, we're favored by 27.5. If we don't cover, I'd be shocked. All right, it's one of the biggest spreads on the board. I think it might be the second biggest spread. I think Houston's favored by 30.5 against Incarnate Word. Eastern is predicted to finish 11th out of 11 teams in the Ohio Valley. This is not a good team we're playing against. This is a game where ideally Illinois imposes its will, gets up big, executes on the little things, and we get a lot of DGL. We get a lot of Hansberry. We get a lot of Nico. We got trying to fit those guys in. And actually, as early as possible is better to figure out, can these guys have a role on this team? Is there a unit where they can be a part of and play? Because while I don't think we're going to need all 12 guys throughout the season on a rotational basis, as injuries happen, foul trouble happens, and you would love to be able to be like, hey man, we need a guy here, and have somebody be able to step up. Now, I believe it's Friday night we play Oakland.
Yep, it is.
Oakland is predicted for 6th in the Horizon League. So first of all, the Ohio Valley versus Horizon, I'm going to give more credit to the Horizon. I think the Horizon's a better league. You got a team that's predicted to finish much higher there. You've got an Oakland team that's been pretty good. It's given the Michigan team some challenges in the past. So that game will probably be a little bit tighter. I still expect, probably a net of plus 60 this week over those two teams in some way, some fashion. But then the following week, shit gets real. Like we're 3 games in, and it's like, hey, here you go, play Marquette, have fun with that. So these 2 games are important for us to get a rhythm, get a feel, get some rotational stuff. Just like the Kansas game was super important for that. But I don't see us having any trouble this week. The show on next Sunday, we'll be talking about some real things. So
yep, as we break down Marquette, we will have that special guest on our show. He's locked him in just to talk about some his experiences and the Illini uniform. I'm not going to tell you what won, but tune in. We're going to have a player on next week to break down some stuff and chat. And it's just fun to hear another voice and a guy I think we both respect. So with that, I agree totally. But thankfully, Illinois has Kansas in their back pocket where they're like, listen, Marquette's its own thing, but they know they can play and they can compete, and they should have some really good confidence, I think, heading into that game. And the Orange Crush should be loud as heck. So I'm looking forward to that. Tuesday.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get a top 10 team in the house. I mean, top 5 team in the house. The place is gonna be loaded.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. So with that said, Kev, let's make our Illinois Indiana predictions and then get to final thoughts. Kev, I'll start with you.
I think Illinois imposes its will on this one. I've got a feeling we find a little bit of offensive mojo. I'm gonna take Illinois in this one, 31-17.
Okay, I like it. I think if the spread probably ends up being between 6 and 7, it'll probably stay in there. I think, especially when the Paddock news comes out. But yeah, I think I'll take Illinois 28, Indiana 17. So I think they cover as well. Now, with final thoughts, Kevin, I'm going to start off, and I think this man deserves it. And we have mentioned him before, but I just want to make sure he gets his flowers before his time's up. And I think, Brett Bielema is going to do everything he can to keep him. But Isaiah Williams, 13 receptions, 131 yards and 2 touchdowns is awfully an awesome game. But it's not just that. The most by a Big Ten player this season. Also, most by an Illini in 35 years.
Since David Williams?
Tied for the second most in Illinois history.
Yeah, David Williams had 15 or something.
Yeah, I think David Williams had him by like 1 or 2 in 83, I think.
Yeah.
So 84, 83. Yeah, and then tied for 5th most by any FBS player this season. So, to me, Isaiah Williams is on his way to being first team All Big Ten, along with Marvin Harrison. I think those are the two. Marvin Harrison, obviously a top 20 pick, 15 pick, whatever, and then NFL draft.
Top 5, top 3.
Yes, special.
Right.
You never know. Crazier things that happen. Tim Tebow got drafted in the first round, It's just crazy. Sometimes they trade a pick, all that. But Isaiah Williams deserves to be on the first team All Big Ten. I think if you look at him, he's going to lead in receptions. I think he's going to lead in receptions for the Big Ten. Yeah. He's going to be second most in yards behind only Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
I don't think it's close either, Kevin.
No.
And he's going to be up there in the top 5 for touchdowns behind Roman. I think Roman and Marvin Harrison. I think Roman from Michigan.
Well, touchdowns are pretty lagging, but other than that, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think, but top 5, I think he keeps adding these up. It's going to add up. That was 2 this week.
He's only got 3.
But still, think about that. Leading receptions, second most yards. I think that's worthy to be first team All Big Ten.
100%.
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen. I think the coaches know they all have to game plan for one. So I just want to throw his flowers that way. We got a special one, and I know he said he doesn't want to come back, but if you listen to the post-game presser, Brett said they're going to do everything they can to throw whatever they need to at him to keep him one more year. So Isaiah Williams, we salute you.
Amen, man, and that's definitely worthy of all the praise there that could possibly be sung. I'm going to go back to something we talked about a little bit earlier today. Some other folks have talked about it. I've talked about it before on Final Thoughts, but it's really cool to turn on an NFL game and see a guy who played quarterback at Illinois playing quarterback. See Nate Hobbs get his first career interception. Seeing Quan Martin get his first career interception. Seeing Sidney Brown chase CeeDee Lamb out of bounds late in the game. Like, I mean, they're just it is just really Devin Witherspoon. All the hype he was getting this week about is he the rookie of the year on the defensive side of the ball. It just makes Sundays a lot of fun when you got guys that can play in the National Football League and play effectively. And to that point, we've got another guy who's going to be a very high draft pick. He's moving up the boards in Johnny Newton. So my final thought is that you recognize one, I'm going to recognize four. We got at a minimum 3 games left with that guy. Get your butt in the stands. Go cheer him on. You got 2 home games. You got a travelable road game if you want. Nope, that was Hobbs' first career interception is what they said on the NFL show, on the red zone there, Sean, when I was watching it. You could be right, and I could be wrong, but that's what they said. Just go celebrate 4. Go celebrate 4. Go
celebrate 1, celebrate 4.
Yeah.
How about this? How about just go celebrate all those guys playing their tails off to get that team to a bowl game, because it's not easy to keep coming back when they've been taking so many, body blows all year, and so I commendable. But again, we're lucky we get to see some of these guys play and take advantage of it. I agree with you. 3 games left, Kev.
Now, Sean was right. It was his first interception this year. He got a pick 2 years ago. So it was his second career pick, and it was off Tommy DeVito, which kind of sucked, but at the same time, it's kind of cool. But yeah, Johnny Newton's an all-timer. He's worthy. Isaiah Williams is an all-timer.
His jersey's going to be in Smith Center with Devin Witherspoon.
Yep.
And his plaque's going to be outside Grange Grove.
Yep.
And think about that, you guys. We haven't had somebody like that in almost 30 years. Hardy and Rice.
Hardy and Rice. Yep.
Yeah. So it's going to be almost 3 decades since I was a little boy, since we've had somebody to make that type of impression and be back-to-back years. So with that said, Illinois tomorrow night, Big Ten Plus, 7 p.m. Can't get tickets. That's where you can watch it. Let's enjoy the start of hoop season and enjoy
$2 tickets on StubHub. $2.
Yeah. If Kevin didn't have to work, he'd drive 6 hours to go.
You damn right I would.
Yeah. All right, you guys. With that said, swap me out.
ILL.
INI. Don't forget. Fade the